Good afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us for the fifth, I should say the third regional planning forum. We appreciate you coming. I know you have other things that you'd rather be doing, but this is important relative to our region. We were fortunate enough to convene 4 local forums, and so that's behind us. And so we have one more convening relative to the regional plan coming up on December 4th. So we're hoping that you make the convening, because it really is important. But we'll talk about that in a second. So this topic is about indices. It's a self-evaluation, in other words, a review of the regional workforce goals and strategies. But before I introduce the facilitator of today's forum, I want to, again, remind everyone that we have the last forum on the 4th. If you guys can attend, it would be great. And in fact, I think that's probably one of the more important ones of the regional convenings. We earlier had on October 24th, we had re-entry for the partnerships, and now we have re-entry for services. And so those are the most vulnerable individuals with the highest barriers possible to getting employment. So having you here and showing how strong our partnership is would be very grateful. I want to add a few thank yous as I've done at all of these forums. One is I want to thank Marco for filming this. The reason why it's important for this to be filmed is because, as you can see, many individuals from different agencies are unable to attend. And so this allows individuals to be able to attend, in essence, through our YouTube video at their leisure or at work. And so they can make comments or ask questions by email at the end, and you'll see our email address. And so I encourage you, if you don't feel comfortable asking a question or being engaged, you can always do that after your leisure and through our email address. The other person I want to thank is Marcia. I think Marcia left. Marcia's over there. Marcia's been very important because she actually takes the notes from the event, and I want to make sure this is on. And it is, okay. And she translated it into paper, and so that way that we have a record of these convenings for the state. Finally, I want to thank the Beale Library. They've been very kind to allow us to utilize this facility for all our 8 regional and local convenings, and we're very, very grateful because it's a great site. So, without further ado, because I know that we want to move forward, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the facilitator of this afternoon's forum, and that is John Chamberlin. Mr. Chamberlin is an independent attorney based in Portland, Oregon. Over the last 36 years, he has worked in all 50 states and in over 200 areas of workforce development, economic development, strategic planning, service delivery, and grant management. Recent engagement includes improving workforce partners in Oregon, Washington, Ohio, Nevada, California, Maine, and Michigan. Strategic planning in California, Washington, Oregon, Georgia, Illinois, and Kentucky, and resolving grant management disputes in California, Wisconsin, Michigan, and New York. But before I introduce, I have a quick question. Has it snowed out where you live?
Thank God not yet.
Okay.
But the wind has been blowing, the power was out when I left the house, and driving down from Sacramento the last day or two, man, it was smoky. Yeah, looks like it's cleared a bit today.
So all I can tell you is, so we have the house, and it's yesterday it snowed out. So
well, I've got 2 friends in Paradise who lost their houses that I know of. They're safe.
So anyhow, without further ado, Mr. John Chamberlin. Let's give him a round of applause.
Okay. Which one, Mike, do you want me to take?
He needs a handheld.
He does? Okay.
Okay, let's get started, and I'm going to introduce this. Am I clicking the wrong thing? What's the story? Should I be hitting? I've got to get up to the top there somehow, scroll up.
Here, let's see.
Michael, can you give that a try? See if I can. I assume it's the little two buttons on the side. Anyway, while we're getting started here, the purpose of the session today, the title's a little misleading. We're going to give ourselves a report card, really as a region, and we're doing a number of these across the 11 counties that make up this planning area. Actually, it's 10 counties. 10 counties, 8 workforce boards running from Kern County, Inyo and Mono in the south, clear up to Stockton and San Joaquin County, and all the counties in between, plus Kings County. And kind of a report card, how we've done as a region in working together, either different agencies to help employers or help the workforce get and keep a job. What have we done as a system working together over the last couple years? So what I'm hoping we have is kind of a diverse bunch of players that you work for different places and do different things. And we'll talk about what we've done, what we haven't done, and maybe what we should do going forward. And we're going to give ourselves a grade, 1, 2, or 3, on a number of initiatives that my partner David Schinder and I put in the plan 2 years ago. So this is probably one of the more interesting forums we're having. We've got a really small group. You're probably plan-fried. It's a new term I've learned. We've done a lot of sessions all across the area. A lot of people have turned out. We're approaching the holidays and you're the survivors. You're the ones who made it through. So who you are, where you work, and briefly what you do. I'll pass this through.
Good afternoon, Diane Flanagan, Department of Rehabilitation. I'm a team manager.
Great.
Good afternoon. My name is Maria Curio. I'm a team manager for the Department of Rehabilitation.
Steve Metler, Assistant Principal, Regional Occupational Center with the Kern High School District.
Okay.
Greg Thornberry, Department of Rehabilitation, Rehabilitation Counselor.
Summer Ashby, Department of Rehabilitation. I am the Work Incentives Planner. Sean Beda, Department of Human Services, and I'm a Job Developer Supervisor.
Belinda Reed, Employees Training Resource Program Coordinator.
Zidane Gary, Housing Authority Lead Service Coordinator.
Ismael De Leon, Rehabilitation Counselor for the Department of Rehab.
Peggy Lingle, Program Support Supervisor, Employers Training Resource.
Ralph Martinez, Community Action Partnership of Kern, Director of Community Development.
Estrella Siskel, EDD, I'm in EPR.
Okay. Michael, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Michael Saltz, for Employees Training Resource and Contracts Administrator.
Michael, you want to come over here too? Because you're gonna be involved in scoring as well. So let me introduce this. And again, first a little more introduction of myself. We had this talk. I grew up in Chicago. I now live in Portland, Oregon. Moved many years ago. I don't miss the winters. I miss the city. My wife is a New Yorker. We met in Puerto Rico 35 years ago. So it isn't just my work that's all over the country. And again, we have 14 regional planning units in California. This is the biggest by far geographically. And the whole initiative, this is about region, the session today. So I'm going to be asking you again what we do that crosses county boundaries, political boundaries, or crosses fund streams, where we're working together, 2 or more agencies, to get something done to help businesses, workers, our community through the workforce system. Again, we have a 4-year regional plan. We're 2 years in. We're doing the mid, in effect, this is our midterm exam. How well did we do? And we're resetting. And we're going to do these sessions, the self-assessment, the north, the center of this region, probably somewhere around Fresno, and here in the south. And we're doing them around the rest of the state as well to kind of assess how we're doing in terms of what we said we did. And kind of to everybody's shock, when we wrote this plan, it didn't just go on a shelf and gather dust. We're actually going to get graded on how well we did. And you're going to be part of the grading today. You didn't know that, did you? You wouldn't have come. It's all right. And again, there are 3 topics in the plan. Workforce corrections partnerships, prisoner reentry, another name for this. And again, that one has really 3 a little different groups that we talk about. Justice involved, which could be just arrested and diverted. People just getting out of prison, newly released, and people who are out and on probation and parole. We've got one more forum on that one coming up that Michael announced. I think it's December 4th in this room. And if you have questions about that, talk to Michael. Those are almost done. I think we have one more of those around the region other than the one on the 4th. There's one in Merced coming up. And they've been really well attended and really robust discussions. I think we had 65 people at the last one we had up in San Joaquin County, and from uniformed sheriff's deputies to nonprofits to community groups to a guy who'd just gotten out of jail. By the way, his comments were great. The self-assessment we're doing today is the second part, and we've done a few of these. We did here one, was it last week, Michael? We meet with the building trades councils. They are union organizations that cover the gamut of the electricians, cement masons, carpenters, heating and cooling. And it's the union side, how good a job we're doing with the multi-craft core curricula, the core curricula they've put together to train construction workers. And as you know, those are good paying jobs, and they earn and learn when you're in those jobs. You get paid while you get credentials. And it's I think a lot of young people that come out of school don't know about that and don't understand that they can get credentials while earning good money and what the career path might be. Particularly, as Michael, you pointed out in our first session here, Bakersfield has the highest rate of disconnected youth, young people who are neither working nor going to school in the nation. And this is a heck of a path for those folks. Chance to earn and learn. Those are the 3 things we cover in this regional plan. And then we have one optional matter. We talked about that in an early session here at the beginning. Have economic conditions changed so radically that we need to change the focus of the plan, what our sectors are, what our design is? So far, I haven't really heard that's the case, but we're open to comments. So those are what we're covering in the regional plan overall, and we're trying to do this with maximum input from the community. Again, I'm an outsider, and I think kind of the purpose is to use someone like myself and David Schinder, who's done some sessions, and we will write the plan who's neutral. We're not from one of the counties. We don't work for one of the agencies involved. Our job is to listen to you, write a plan that all 8 workforce boards can sign off on that covers the system as a whole, and to try to be as neutral as possible. By the way, we bid in to get this. We weren't selected out of the blue, and to our shock and horror, our bid was selected both here and for LA County, which is a third of the population of the state. By the way, couldn't be more different doing the work there than doing it here in the Valley. Again, this is a self-assessment, and we're basically had 3 goals in this regional plan. To build a more demand-driven system. Demand-driven means what are the occupations or industries that are projected to grow the fastest in this region over the next 4 years? What career paths within it? As you could guess, healthcare has a number of them. Nursing, medical technician. Which career paths in that field is there the greatest shortage of skilled people to get the jobs? We try to build a more demand-driven system. And then the second goal is to create a better path to the middle class for people who get left out even in the good times. Parts of the community that even when the economy is hot, don't tend to make it to the middle class. Low English speaking groups, parts of the county, many of them are rural, some of them are urban pockets that have high poverty, and people with low educational attainment. So, but there are other factors, and again, of course, I know a number here from Folk Reed, people with a disability are just getting out of prison. That's a big focus of this. Can we create a better path to upward mobility? And third, can we work together as a system? This isn't a housing job. It's not a workforce job. It's not a health and human services job. It's not a community action job. It's all of us. Can we do this together, more coordinated as a system? Those are the 3 big goals. Now, the state, in their infinite wisdom, came up with a number of what they call indicators. That's an odd word. I would say they're aspects that they feel indicate we're really doing this. These are the courses. This is, if you were in high school or college, this is what we get scored on. These 10 things. And by the way, not every region in the state is scored on all of them. Some regions chose to focus on some of them more than others. And I'm going to be going through the indicators that this area picked, and I'm going to skip ahead to those rather than talk about indicators we didn't choose. And again, our focus in part of this is to try to do, and we've done this before. Many of us, for example, had healthcare coalitions or brought manufacturers together or the construction trades. We've done that before, but what we try to do now is to do it together. So it isn't the community college, the adult schools, economic development, workforce board, all convening industry separately to see what they need, that we're doing it as a system a little bit better. But to try to focus on building coalitions, enhancing employer and industry engagement, enhancing America's job career centers. How many of you work in the center? I know a couple of you do. Okay, 4 of you in the room. To try to do a better job of connecting the centers up to the larger system, and to see if we can streamline how we administer. Those are, again, some of the big picture goals. And again, we had some outcomes we put in the plan and in a grant application to the state that resulted from the plan 2 years ago. Some of these things have been done. We know some of them we have not done yet. But I'm going to ask you as a community whether you've done any of these things or plan to or don't think it's a good idea. One of the things we talked about were to have a semi-annual partner business forums to engage industry, that we would get them together around the region. We talked about coming up with performance measures for employers so we could measure, have some data rather than just anecdotal on how engaged employers were with us as a system. to try to build our regional coalition through a conference in forums. We're doing those forums, by the way, right now, to expand our partnership, to identify best practices, and to come up with more standardized forms and training so that people could get into training from more places. Those were some of the tasks that we identified. Now, as I get into these checklists, and by the way, this comes out of the state plan. It's tied to money now and in the past, so it isn't just esoteric. I'm going to ask you to see if you could, off the top of your head, give us a score. You don't get to give us a 0. You get a 1, 2, or 3, and they're a little polite on how they define the score. 1 is the lowest score, and they say learning or experimenting. We've identified separately some priority sectors. I know we've done that because we had to put them in our plan. We do have priority sectors. And have we agreed upon what they are and identified employer champions? I know we agreed upon them. I don't know if we're to the championship stage. The second level is not only have we identified priority sectors, but we're working with those sectors together. It's not the community colleges separately from the adult school, separately from housing, separately from economic development. The 2 or more of us are working with those employer groups together. And then the third is we've really got it together with this sector. And now we're just scaling it up, taking it to scale. 3 is the top score, 1 is the lowest. So if you give me a 0 or a 4, I'm going to probably round you up or down to 1 or 3. And by the way, I don't expect to get all 3s. I wouldn't expect that. I haven't seen that other places. This is a process, okay? So that if we give 1s for something, that doesn't mean we failed. Okay, so I'm going to ask you some questions and see what answers I get. And by the way, I'm going to get different scores across the region. And I know we don't have anyone from the community college system here today. And I know through strong workforce funding, which is a new fund stream we didn't have 2 years ago, they're doing a lot of this. And they would probably, from the things I heard about when we kicked this off way back in early October, I think they would probably get a 3 in some of these areas because they were doing things that were brand new, working with sectors that I didn't know about. But I'm going to, what industries or sectors meet in this region? Do you have a healthcare group of employers? You do have one. Okay. How many of you knew that in the room, that you had a group of healthcare people who meet and work and identify how many of you didn't know that? Okay, a couple of you. Okay, so we have a little work to do, but we have a healthcare sector. How about construction? Do we have a group of employers or the Building Trades Council that do they work with us? Okay, how many of you didn't know that again? I'm just gonna quick show of hands, a couple of you, okay. How about transportation and logistics? To define it a little, trucking, moving goods. Do we have a sector that we meet with there?
Warehouse distribution.
What?
Warehouse distribution.
Warehouse, distribution, logistics. How many of you didn't know that? Okay, we got a little work to do. Other sectors? Manufacturing? Energy? Agriculture? Okay, so do any of those forums cross county lines? And are they regional? So that's the next big, the healthcare, for example. Do you work with Tulare County in any of those sectors? Kings County, LA County. Michael says yes, the rest of yours,
Not LA County, but in our region.
Yeah, I was just gonna try that. I didn't know I wasn't getting a reaction. And Fresno, I know sometimes Fresno likes to call themselves, they like to call Bakersfield Fresno South and Stockton Fresno North. I heard that a little bit at one session. But, so I know in the building trades, they do cross the line pretty well. So let's take healthcare for a moment. Adult school, are you involved with healthcare employers?
Yes, we are. We have advisory groups that meet.
Oh, let me get you this. I'm going to make you work, Michael.
It's okay, I need to lose weight.
Okay.
Those of you who've already done this, could you do me a favor? When you initially introduce yourself for the first time, please identify yourself by your name and spell your last name as well. You don't have to do that the next time except to identify yourself by name. And the reason for that is because when Marcia is typing this out, that way she knows who you are. Thank you.
Steve Mettler, METTLER. Yes, we have advisory groups that we meet with once a year. And so we have quite a few health programs, and so they usually meet together with industry partners in an advisory group to discuss what's new in industry, what are the needs of industry, what are they looking for to hire.
Do you have other players at those meetings, community colleges, for example?
Yes, Bakersfield College, people who we have dual enrollment with.
Mm-hmm. How about workforce board system, job center?
No.
Okay, okay. Do you ever hold those meetings and go to them with Tulare County, or is it strictly Kern County?
Pretty much strictly Kern County.
Okay, okay. Anybody else meet with, I'm going to just pick one example, healthcare employers as a group? Michael, do you do that as a workforce board, convene that sector?
I don't do it personally, but yes, we do it.
Okay. Do you know as a workforce system, do you ever convene them crossing Kern County line?
Yes. With regards to healthcare, yes.
Okay, okay. So we do have sectors that meet. Do we have any champions? When you meet with the healthcare sector, I'm going to get you back over here. I'm going to ask you, you're sitting at the very end. You might want to come down here, Michael. And I'm going to ask some others the same question. But who are the industry champions for that healthcare sector? Do you have specific hospitals or HR people that help?
Mostly the community partners that we have out there that take our interns. We have a community classroom internship program that we do in the spring. Mm-hmm. And it's mostly those businesses, those industries. They're the ones who we meet with.
Okay. Anybody else have a hospital, a clinic, anyone else from the healthcare sector that takes leadership for working with you and helping your folks get jobs, training, knowledge? Anybody have one? Transportation, logistics, others?
We have job developers that work directly with many of them.
Michael, we're going to be moving you around. And again, if you could state your name and spell it the first time.
My name is Peggy Langels, Langels, and we do get together a lot with, industry employers, and then our job developers are all assigned to different clusters. So they work directly with transportation and logistics or directly with the medical field, because we do so many OJTs with all those different fields. And we do have sometimes targeted job fairs, that type of thing, where we just have medical people come and, bring in all the people we're training in those industries so that they have just one-on-one with the type of industry that they're looking for. So, and that way, yes, And we do also attend the industry cluster meetings with the high school district. I've been to one for the automotive industry. I know they're having one tomorrow at the HACC in the cafeteria for another industry that we have some of our staff attending. So we do go to those as well.
Great. Voc Rehab folks, do you guys work with the healthcare sector? Do you have hospitals, clinics, or any employers who are especially open to working with customers of Department of Voc Rehab? Do you have any?
Well, not directly, but by proxy. Greg Thornberry, Department of Rehab, THORNBERRY. Through the third-party regional center, they've got an adult prep program where clients who would be eligible for supported employment needing more work readiness training have got a contract with Dignity Health with Mercy where they have 2 sites, the Southwest and the downtown, and about 6 clients per term will intern, where they're getting exposure to food service and basic admitting and different entry-level jobs. That's done through a purchase of service through the regional center. I don't think they'd mind me talking about that, but indirectly, those clients are then later referred to Voc Rehab once the placement piece is ready. We get involved and provide supported employment and job development starts after that.
Great. Housing Authority, do you have any employers that in healthcare or other sectors that are particularly friendly to working with your clients?
Yelsley Albuquerque Housing Authority, last name ALAWGAREY. The only thing that we have that's cross-county is we work with all the housing authorities throughout California through the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. Any family can sign up for the program. It's a 5-year program in which they choose to meet goals they want to attain in 5 years. When they do, any additional rent that gets raised on because their situation got better gets put into an escrow account, and if they complete the 5-year program, we give them their money back. We've given checks as well as a couple $100s, and the highest check was a little over $35,000.
Great.
So the families use it for a down payment on a home or start a business or college fund for their kids.
And that crosses all county lines?
All county lines. So if they start the program, let's say first year here and they move to another county, they complete the rest of the 4 years in another county.
Right. How many of the rest of you knew that? I didn't before. That seems wonderful. And do others of you have people that are in Housing Authority? For example, do you have disabled Department of Voc Rehab customers that are in the housing program? Imagine you do.
Yeah, we have several different types of developments.
Right.
Low income, we have Section 8, we have senior housing, veteran homelessness, emancipated youths. So we have several developments.
Yes. Do you do anything else that you can think of that crosses county lines with housing that helps your folks get a job, keep a job, or get skills?
We do offer a lot of after-school programs for the youth to try and give them a head start in life, to make their situation better from what their parents currently have. For the adults, we do offer different services, like we'll invite different programs to come in and do a workshop. We did at one point have a workforce program to teach kids construction so they can find employment, but it was only a 1-year program. That kind of finished.
Okay. I'm kind of shotgunning a little bit, but I'm going to get down to this last question up here. Do we have any new, I know we have some, and I may have the wrong folks in the room this time, because I heard about them at our first session. Do we have any new programs in the last 2 years that give industry recognized credentials or apprenticeship that tie to work? And I think in the I heard about a ton of programs that colleges and adult ed were now running, some of them in jails and prisons that were new. But can you name any off the top? New programs that give a credential? Okay. If I looked back at the notes for the first one, I bet I had like 10 or 13 that were mentioned. So we can get that elsewhere. Okay, so that was our first convening. And again, I don't know. I want to. This is such a small group. I've had 60 people. I have no one from the college here. And I know as a part of Strong, they are working across lines. But I'm going to ask you to give it a shot anyway. A 1, 2, or 3. How good are we doing at pulling industries together to tell us what they need?
I'd say.
Mike would give it a 2. Why would you give it a 2?
Because I think that we're convening our industry partners, but the mere fact is that there's always room for improvement.
Would anybody give us a 1? It's okay. Would anyone give us a 3? Anyone else give us a 2? How many else would give it 2? Okay. So, and if you don't feel comfortable answering, I'm okay with that too. But the consensus was a 2. We're doing this. There's room for improvement. But we are convening industry and we're listening to them. Okay, great. Let me switch to another one. Okay, indicator B. We have, as a region, a shared sector occupational focus, and we share and pool resources to meet a demand. And I know that we came up with sectors in our region. And again, Michael, you mentioned energy, but we have, and by the way, every other county in California has healthcare on the list. Pretty much everybody has construction. Pretty much everybody has logistics. Most of them have manufacturing. A handful have energy. Some have food industry / agriculture, which starts to look a lot like manufacturing. Some have high tech. There's one in the state that has entertainment. It's LA. You know, by the way, they have the highest % of their workforce working in entertainment of any place in the world. It still is the media center of the world. But looking at those, if we identified demand, occupation, and sectors, and so I know we've done, but how many of you are engaged with sectors? If you could raise your hand. Your agency, your industry are engaged with them. How many of you would like to be engaged? You know, I know some of you, if you're a counselor for Voc Rehab, this may be something that's subsidiary to what you do. But how many of you would like this? Do we ever pool resources? And I think you mentioned when you meet with your sectors, you also have the college there. So the answer would be yes, in some instances we're pooling resources. Have any of the others, the housing folks, do you ever work with other fund streams to help meet an employer's demand?
Yes and no. I mean, we do get grants from different organizations. For example, we do get grants from some other banks to educate people on home ownership and what are the requirements to get home ownership. We do work sometimes with the city and county to purchase abandoned property to renovate it and try and create kind of almost a rent-to-own housing to try and encourage some families to move from rental to become homeowners. But that's it. Everything's local. Nothing's.
Okay.
It doesn't cross the other region.
Okay. Community action, and I know you do a number of things. Do you ever work with sectors, or do your customers hear about it if there's, let's say, a set of jobs opening up that they might be interested in?
Ralph Martinez from CAPTAID, MARTINEZ. Through our youth centers, we do some prisoner reentry programs working with job skills. We've also done classes for opportunity youth, 16 to 18 that are not in school and don't have a job. We provide a lot of pre-employment training, also provide paid work experience and volunteer experience for them.
How about EDD? EDD, are you involved with helping meet employer demand, or do you find out, or do you tell others when an employer has an opening or a skill need?
Sistual, Sistual. Yes, we do. We are trying to revamp our employer, sorry, I'm still fairly new to EDD, our employer advisory council as well. So trying to get that engagement with the employers and yes.
Okay. And Voc Rehab, if an employer has a set of openings, do you hear about it? Are your clients benefiting from this partnership?
Diane McClanahan, MCCLANAHAN. We have business specialists, and they go out into the community and meet with employers more one-on-one to tell them about what the Department of Rehabilitation does and about our consumers we serve, and just kind of opening the doors to these employers. We also provide windmills training, which is a training, sensitivity training. So we're finding that we're going to have to do more training to employers so they'll understand that it's okay to hire someone with a disability. Accommodations are not expensive. And so we find we have to do more training to employers. So they will open their doors for our consumers.
When the rest of us, other partners, are meeting together and developing new curricula or content or credential programs for partners, do your clients hear about it? Are you included?
We're part of the America's Job Center, so yes,
Okay.
we hear about it, we pass it on to our
Great.
consumers.
Okay. Do we pool resources to meet demand? And so, in other words, if an employer, when you meet at your forum, needs some kind of training, does the adult school and the community college, do you pool resources to help meet that demand? Ever? Write grants together? Or?
With the community college, not too much with adult school. We don't really do too much with Bakersfield Adult School, even though we share campus with them. Ours is more with community colleges.
Right.
So let's say the distribution centers that we've had here, we were approached by them saying that there's going to be a job shortage. And so we've then picked up programs. We have an engineering robotics program that we work with Bakersfield College for, programmable logic controllers and things like that for the automated systems. And next year we are opening up a full warehouse, 10,000 foot warehouse for training, distribution, logistics. And we work with community colleges on that mostly.
Okay. Are there other players, partners in the community that you could benefit from or could benefit from these programs? Could we do a better job of connecting?
Well, yeah, we always can, right? That's the answer. We can always do better. But with the warehousing and distribution, we're working a pretty strong connection with the Timon outlets down there. We just met with them a couple of weeks ago at Caterpillar. And was it Dollar Tree, Dollar General was there. Those distribution centers were there, up there. And then also the one on 7th Standard through John Gwynn up there. So
every projection I've seen says that the logistics, warehousing, transportation industry is going to grow for the foreseeable future. Even if we have self-driving trucks, someone has to load them, someone has to gather the goods. The movement of goods is going to increase. So that's an important one.
Michael Schultz. The question that you initially asked, are we working together with other partners? Not only, I mean, for instance, there's some grants that we've, that Employers Training Resources written that's included other partners, including, we wrote a grant under WAF that we worked with DHS with, as well as a couple other entities, and it worked out really well. It was with about Career Hub, about using technology to better serve our clients. We are in the process of, well, we did the DEI grant for individuals who are deaf and hard of hearing, and we've worked with DOR and other agencies.
Great.
In addition, we're working right now on preparing a grant with Kings County under the DEA grant, the Disability Employment Accelerator. So we partner when, and we've worked on Viper, which is a grant that is through the region. So whenever we have an opportunity, we take advantage of it because we want money staying in our region versus going somewhere else. So we have definitely a great relationship with our partners, and we capitalize on it as much as possible.
And just to be clear, a federal priority and a state priority is to tie additional funding to regional. I know neighborhoods are important, I know community is important, but the better we work together as a system, both aligned in this county and in this community and across counties, the better shot we have to bring in more resources to help our people. And that's not going to change with a new governor. Regional is here, it's a big deal. Housing, I know, let me take your comment first. I skipped and I have questions. I'm gonna make you guys talk a little bit about how you work together. Go ahead.
Sean David, BVETT, Department of Human Services. You were talking about pulling resources, and we work very close with Employers Training Resource, utilizing expanded subsidized employment funds. So we take people who are receiving benefits through the Department of Human Services, and they go into work experience sites, prove themselves within about a month, and then they're rolled in and contracted under Employers Training Resource, who also works with other agencies, specifically Mexican American Opportunity Foundation, Kern High School District, and Proteus, to get these people paid. So they are paid a wage for the next 6 months, and that gives them experience that they can actually put on a resume. And we get a lot of people hired out of that. So, and then once they're actually finished with that, if the employer actually hires them, then we pay that employer $4,000. And so that's working with 4 different agencies. And it's awesome.
That's a lot of different fund streams as well, the groups you just named. Very cool.
But again, that's Kern County.
Okay. And again, housing, I know in subsidized housing, you have a gamut of from little kids to old people. You have people that are probably involved with ROP. You probably have customers that are served by every single program of the people in the room. Again, do your folks get access to these different programs? Are you involved in helping to recruit and refer?
Yes and no. Yazidano Gary Housing Authority. We do. A lot of our clients do come from the Department of Human Services. Like she said, we do have some people coming through from the EPP program. And our 5 years at CAPK, half of our staff came from that program, but it's definitely a wonderful program and it has amazing results. We do hire from some of the programs, and we do make sure all of our residents are aware of the different agencies in the community. We do have a resource finder where we refer them to different resources. In my department, all of our service coordinators are there for the clients to see whatever service they need. You can refer them to one. But again, it's all local within Kern County and within the development.
Okay, great. So you've given me some examples, the way we've identified some resources and we've pooled resources. They are local with the exception of your housing example you talked where people get credits that crosses county lines. Anybody else doing a project that pools resources that crosses? And Michael, you gave a few examples, the grant you're doing with Kings County. Any others you can think of that cross county lines?
I'm not gonna have a lot of info.
Oh, it's okay.
Okay, Shonda, you better. We have some job developers in Mojave, which is East Kern, so it's closer to LA. And so when we have a lot of employers coming in,
Right.
there's gold mining and whatnot out there. It's on the desert, you're not gonna find a lot of people looking for employment out there. So they did, but I'm not gonna have the details because I wasn't directly involved, but they did work with LA County to do a major job fair down there of those specific industries that were coming in, and they pulled in resources and it was successful.
I know I'm doing a session in the Antelope Valley coming up, and when I did one there 2 years ago, for them, Bakersfield was more relevant in Kern County as a market than the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And I know while you're technically in the state, not in a region, that is regional. And the two economies do connect and people do go back and forth, and I've heard about from other sessions that shared resources. Interesting.
It's not my department, but I do know for a fact, Coastal Community College has colleges in both Kern County and Bishop as well.
Yeah.
And they have several campuses, and so any credit that somebody gets can transfer to any of the colleges in East Kern and Bishop County.
Okay, and you know, I forgot, do we have anyone on the call from Inyo or Mono counties?
No.
Or any other place?
No.
Okay. And again, we try to give folks the opportunity, but people don't want to participate, you can't make them. Okay, another comment, Michael, if you could run the mic over.
Sure, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say the first of the year when we were having our partner presentations, we have 20 partners. I don't know, Michael, are we still at 20?
Yes.
Okay.
21.
And we covered about, I want to say 17 of them in our partner presentations that we had bi-monthly. But we did have people come down from like Indian Manpower that came down from Bishop, actually Mammoth. And then we had some other people come in from different regions. So we do know what they do, and we did tell them, you know, everybody got to share what they do and how they do it, and all of our resources, and those are on our YouTube channel as well, so that anybody can see those. And then as far as like housing, that type of thing, we have a huge marketing and outreach program with ETR, so we set up booths at everything that anybody's having around town, and we're trying to share information. So it does get out to everybody and the other agencies as well.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you to score this. How well do we do 1, 2, or 3 in sharing sector or occupational focus or sharing and pooling resources to meet demand? How many would give this a 1? How many a 3? How many a 2? Okay, and if it's okay if you're uncomfortable scoring it. If everybody in the room is, we have other okay, so we give it a 2. And again, I know that the information we're bringing out of you is incomplete. I know there's other things we're doing, because I've heard about them in other sessions, but that seems fair. Let's move on to the next one. By the way, you didn't expect to be doing this today, did you? Scoring things. It's okay. Everybody gets a chance to be a grader. Okay, do we have a process to communicate industry or workforce needs to supply side partners? That's you. You serve the people. So do we have a process to communicate if one of us hears about a need from an employer or a sector to each other? Are our supply side partners engaged at the regional level? What training or professional development opportunities do your staff get to help with this? How are services provided by our career centers and our regional partners? How well do they meet the needs of targeted centers? And how do we ensure that services are combined or coordinated so we don't duplicate each other? So again, I guess one example would be if we have job developers in our agency, they don't all go to the same employer on the same week with contradictory messages. So what do you think about this? And I'm back to your point. You said you had 21 partners who came together and a number of them who work through the center. That's probably a form of alignment. But you give me some examples of how well, I'll come to you second because Michael already took the mic over, how well we do at communicating.
I don't have the mic.
You're stuck with it. So, how well do we do at communicating when there's an employer demand?
I think we do really well. We've had our ups and downs. We've had to work out a lot of things, as Shonda can tell you, and EDD people can tell you. There's always, when a lot of agencies are working, you're going to have some lines crossed occasionally, but they've worked it out really well. I think we're all working well. We all are in Cal jobs mostly now. I don't think DHS is yet, but we can pull up, see if another agency or another person's working with that employer, and then, we do a lot of, hey, I can do this, I can do that. So say if Estrella has an employer she's working with, we can do an OJT with that. Then one of our job developers and Estrella get together, we work that out, we do the OJT. And so it works as a partnership, and we've really come together more as a partnership that way. And then we work really well together. We pull each other's JDs in when we're having recruitments. We need help, whatever may be going on. So I think we're doing really well on that front right now.
Great, and you had a comment over here.
Maria Curio, Mariacurie, Department of Rehabilitation. As Diane indicated, we have business specialists, and their duties entail reaching out to the employers. And what's really works really well is with ETR. Essentially our job developers will meet with their job developers. They'll actually facilitate workshops, so they're able to communicate, what employers are looking for, candidates. So there's this full communication back and forth between the different agencies, and that happens with job developers. So I think that's really positive.
Wonderful. How about the ROP? Do you get, if an employer has a demand, do you get appropriate notice, or are you hooked into that?
Yeah, we do, but it's mostly through our advisories. We have a law enforcement class, and West Tech, the training facility, they attended there, and they said, we're in need of corrections. And so we're going to start a corrections program at ROC because they said there's a demand for it. And so we start that next semester-long program. West Tech instructors are going to come. They teach the whole thing. We just provide the kids and the facilities.
Great. And I'm going to ask another, how about EDD? And I know EDD Cal jobs as a way of communicating demand, but how does EDD communicate here and in the region if there's an employer demand? Is there something more than Cal jobs, or?
Okay, so we do have Job Squad at America's Job Center as well. As far as region and ED, I'm probably not the right person to be talking about this, but we do have a lot of communication throughout the partner agencies under America's Job Center, like Shonda and Peggy did mention.
So if there's a big demand one county over, let's say there's a big construction project in Visalia, and they're going to need a whole lot of construction workers, would you hear about it? Would it show up on your radar screen here?
We do have our offices that are located in other I guess you could put other AJCCs in different counties. So we have our counterparts that work there.
Right.
So say an EDD job developer or to maybe get that type of opportunity and needed people in our area, then of course, yes, we would have that communication.
Can you think of any places where we've worked together to decrease duplication, where we're not both doing the same things? And I guess you already pointed, if our job developers are working together and sharing leads, that would work. Can you think of any, Michael, or anyone else, where we're reducing duplication?
Well, an example is happening tomorrow. I mean, the state looked at the hallmark of excellence that we did with regards to our comprehensive AJCCs, and they determined, hey, you know what, let's have a training for windmills for individuals, serving individuals with disabilities, and instead of having DOR perform for their own staff, and then ETR, Employers Training Resource Training, for their own staff, or DHS, et cetera.
Right.
We're holding a training for all of the core partners to ensure that everyone who needs to get that training happens. In addition, with regards to Career Hub, we've, as I said, we had applied under WAF to get a grant to assist us with regards to connecting to clients through technology. It not only has been very successful through ETR, Kern High School District, DHS, but other agencies in Kern County has asked us, and in fact, we've communicated that at the CCWC meeting, and San Joaquin is utilizing it, and other workforce development boards. So we, you know, whenever there's issues, for instance, if there is an employer who needs work, they'll talk about that at the CCWC where the directors are, and that'll trickle down to staff. So
Okay.
we communicate very well, and Peggy wants to talk.
Just one note.
I just wanted to say, when it comes to training, I plan most of the training with ETR, but we invite all the partners to all of our training, so we try to make sure they all have the benefit of that. And EDD is very good about inviting us to their trainings as well. We have 4 sessions of active shooter training going on this month.
That's a big
And, you know, it's mandatory for all the ETR people, but we also invited the partners to send anybody that they had that they thought would benefit from it as well. So we try really hard to incorporate training with all of our agencies.
Great. And I know we have a regional training coordinator now. And we try to put the word out, at least to the 8 workforce boards when we do training. You know, you mentioned windmill, active shooter. Are there other trainings that you'd like to hear about, or ones where you got missed? Could we do a better job? Michael?
Well, we are looking and right now in the process of determining whether or not it would work for us, but it would be an apprenticeship for our own staff, and whereby staff will be able to increase their knowledge with regards to different aspects of what their duties are.
Great.
And they'll get certification through it. So we're working with actually Kings County and Merced County to determine whether or not that's feasible. So we're always looking at ways to train our staff, and Peggy, although she's a co-employee, she's done a phenomenal job in ensuring that happens, not only with ETR, but also throughout our core partners.
Great. So with this one, the third indicator, 1, 2, or 3, how well we communicate as supply side, meaning service side partners.
For this, I think we deserve a 3. And the reason why I think we deserve a 3 is because I believe, and you know, it'll be dependent on what everyone else believes, that we do a really great job at communicating with each other, that there's very little duplication, that we strive to work together, and when there are issues, those issues are resolved very quickly. So there is always room for improvement, no matter even if you're at a 3, but I think the amount of improvement that's necessary is relatively low in this category.
Do I hear a case for a 1?
No.
A 2?
No. 2.5.
Okay, how many give us a 3? How many give us a 2? How many a 1? Okay. Okay, duly noted, and I don't know if we could see it without that, but the others, this one I'd say we had maybe 2/3 were a 3 and 1/3 was a 2 on the score, which echoes the point, we're doing well, but there is room for improvement across all partners. Okay. Okay, we skipped one that wasn't an indicator. Not all regions in the state are the same, as I pointed out. LA is really different. Northern California, where the fires are burning now, the 11 rural counties, they would have a different set of indicators than we have. But indicator F, we deploy shared or pooled resources to meet target population needs. Now this is kind of flipping from the demand side or employers to our hardest to serve or targeted populations. The disabled customers, community action clients who come into use, the food bank, prisoner reentry, housing authority folks, people long-term unemployed or low English. So this one is how well we do sharing or pooling resources to help our targeted populations have a shot. So do we have a memorandum of understanding across partners?
So I can probably speak to that because I prepared the MOU. I have to tell you, although I prepared the MOU, it really wasn't necessary because, in all due respect, the core partners, DOR, DHS, EDD, and Employers Trade Resource, have been sharing resources for way before I was born. Probably not that long, but anyhow, the bottom line is that they've always done a great job with regards to sharing resources, although it's memorialized now when it was more of a verbal agreement before, but yes, we've done a great job at doing that. And we recently, when I say recent, time flies so fast, I think it was in June, the directors of each agency came together to indicate that the MOU stays in place and that the costs haven't differed in much. There is one point that we're looking forward to doing in 2019 is getting the non-core partners, or as I call them, the non-co-located partners at the HECC to sign off. We've gotten most of them on board. We have a few holdouts relative to some language, and we're working through that, and we'll have that done by 2019.
Okay, by the way, that's similar around the country where partners that aren't physically in the one-stop, we've got some work to do to connect up resources. That's not any different here. Okay, do we have any regional partners? Proteus is probably one, dealing with migrant and seasonals. Do we have any other partners that cross? Well, Department of Voc Rehab is regional.
EDD.
Sure. EDD is regional. Any other regional partners? Do our community colleges work together?
Well, yeah, I mean,
Of course they do.
Second chance actors. There's a number of regional partners that we have as part of our 21 partners, BO partners.
Right. And by the way, in the prisoner reentry session we had a number of regional players here, and we don't have anyone here from economic development, but we're having an event and we're signing an agreement, the workforce boards, all 8 of them, and 8 economic development corporations to work together to share leads and resources all across the region, a brand new partnership.
Diane McClanahan. The Department of Rehabilitation, Department of Developmental Services, and Department of Education are working together to put together a local plan agreement where we're going to help individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities become competitively integrated employment, obtain competitive integrated employment. So that's something that 3 very large state agencies are coming together to work on a plan. And so this is being done across the state. So currently, right now, for Kern, in New and Mono counties, we're still working on that plan. So it's
Great.
a work in progress, but it's a great adventure for us.
Great, and I know the example you cited earlier of a number of agencies working together.
I don't know if you've heard of HIRE. It's helping incorporate reliable employees, and it's probably 11 or more agencies, a lot of them tied into people with disabilities, and so that's our focus, and so we meet monthly, and we do events throughout the year. There's a job fair, there's a alumni banquet, where we have, employees of the year, employers of the year, when we recognize those that have hired people with disabilities. So that's definitely pulling resources, because that's a lot of people. And that's part of it. So anyway, that's a great way that we pull resources to provide services to that targeted population.
Great. How about, again, community action? Do you have any initiatives that you work with other agencies here that help your folks get to work? Or do people refer people to you when they have like a food or a special need that you can meet?
We work with the probation department, sheriff's department, and the reentry programs.
Great, great. Because I know community action agencies are terrific when it comes to emergency needs that all our clients have.
So Ralph was not saying the whole picture, because the community action partnership with Kern is a very important partner. In fact, I gave Ralph a call because we opened up the Epic Center in this building, which is geared towards youth. And the first thing, and the reason why is because a lot of the youth are disconnected, or they call them opportunity youth, and they don't have the necessary food. I mean, they're coming in with, looking for their last meal. And I just gave Ralph a call, and it took less than a few days to make it all happen. And so, we do work well together, and because of that, if you go upstairs, there's food available for kids that really need that food. So.
Yeah, libraries have kind of become a new center, a new church. That's a good point for people that don't have a place to go all across the country. Libraries are important, and they do more than literature and books. Okay. How about housing? Do you have any initiatives that you were involved with where other agencies share resources to help your people? Thing we haven't talked about yet?
No, we haven't talked about.
Okay.
I do want to add for CAP K, there's also Migrate and CAP, which helps migrate from county to county in terms of agriculture work. They find a place to live and a school for their kids, so as they move, they already have a place ready. I forgot that part. I worked with CAP K for 5 years, so.
That's a good one, and that's a regional example. That's a good one. So when people who, migrant seasonal workers, others cross county lines, there's a cross-county program to receive them and help them. Did I get that right? Okay, so for this one, do we deploy and share resources to provide services for our target populations, 1, 2, or 3? I'm going to let you go first. Michael, you're leading everyone.
I think like 3.
I was going to say the same thing, just for the record.
Yeah. Not even 2.8, 3.
Okay, I got a case for a 3. Okay, do I have any case for a 1? And it's okay. Reasonable people can differ if your folks are getting left out. A 2? Okay, give me a score. How many? Let's go ahead. Do you have a?
Wait, hold on, I'm going to rush over.
Okay. I want everybody to have a chance here.
I don't know if we really have target populations. We're Kern High School District, we're 80% seniors, 20% juniors, not a real adult population at our facility, but we do allot a certain amount of seats to alternative ed, which are maybe some kids who are behind in credits, and so they go to Tierra del Sol, Vista West, and so we do hold a certain amount of seats for those kids. We service the special education community of the Kern High School District, and also kids with a 504 disability. So we do make sure that we do bring those kids in to the ROC and give them a certain amount of seats.
Okay, great. So again, how many would give us a 3? How many a 2? I have a 1. So I'm going to say 9, 10. I'm going to give us a 2.95 on that one. You know, averaged across the room. Okay. Now this is more administrative process or systems. And do we do anything together that, and we've talked about target populations, we've talked about business needs. Do we do any, well, Michael, you mentioned grant writing together to bring in resources. That's an administrative pool. Do we do any common buying of services together? Do we share ever service deliverers? What do we do to, and by the way, you mentioned a number of us use CalJobs, which is an information system. Michael?
Well, I don't know if that individuals here would have this knowledge, but we do. For instance, at the CCWC meeting, what we learned is that certain truck driving schools were charging one region, or I should say one workforce development board, one price, and another workforce development board a different price. So we got smart and we're saying, hey, to that truck driving school, we want the same price that you're given, the low price that you're giving in the entire.
I hope you were going to do the low price.
Yes.
Or the Great.
So those things are talked about at the CCWC meeting with the directors, and when they find something like that out, they act on it as a region to get a better price. But typically, when it comes to purchasing items, it's not done through a region, it's done locally.
Right, and I know we do, any other grant writing that we do together to bring money in, crosses the region, other than what we've mentioned already?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different grants that are written. The Slingshot grant, I mean, reentry grant, I mean, there's just a ton of grants that we do regionally.
Okay, and a little different, do we have any agreements in place where we share administrative resources? Any place you can think of?
Wait.
Sean Baker, it's something I already mentioned, but I mean, the administrative part of our subsidized employment work experience program is again with Employers Training Resource, who handles it, you know, the administrative part beautifully. So we're using them that way. But also within the AJCC system, we have forms in place to communicate with each other, to administrate programs. Emails go out on a mass email list. We're all very much in communication with each other. We meet very often. And we've been part of forums, we've been part of their workforce summit. So yeah, planning committees, partnership meetings. Yeah.
And I'd say we're doing one today. All these forums are an example of regional cooperation. We're doing some strategic planning together. We've done so much of it that a lot of people were so tired they couldn't come today. But that's okay. Anything else you can think of where we're lowering overhead by working together? I guess the centers themselves are an example where we've pooled resources to be in a building together. Your job developers meet together. And again, coordinating that. Can you think of other examples where we're pooling resources?
But that's more locally versus...
It's more local. Can you think of any? Now, I know you've been to more, Michael, and I have, but every meeting, we meet once a month, the 8 workforce boards. Boy, there's probably 5 things in every meeting. We could probably answer this question by just culling the notes where the 8 come together, talk about grants and how resources are shared. But are there any others you can think of? You know, TANF agencies, crossing county lines, do you guys do anything together?
Yeah, well,
I'm not gonna have a lot of information because a lot of that happens, and Shonda, Yvette, still. Okay, so a lot of that happens above me. I'm very heavily involved in the HACC. But when it comes to TANF, yes, we're very connected to other regions. We send people up to Sacramento all the time. In fact, I did recently, about a year ago, go down south, where we're learning what they're doing, especially with Leola, and how TANF is changing. Because this county, TANF has been involved for about 20 years before we were mandatory. We were voluntarily part of the one stop. But now that we're mandated, other counties are having to do it for the first time, and they just don't know how to do it. They've never had job developers. Well, we had job developers 20 years ago because we learned through employer training resource and EDD, so we're quite familiar with it. So we already have a lot of that in place. So yeah, we're communicating constantly with other regions when it comes to TANF.
Great, so you're sharing best practices, and I know here, a lot of this is all hat for you. You are a leader, and I've heard about it in the past in terms of how you share and organize resources as a county. And there's a lot to learn in others. By the way, a couple of the counties, Tulare County in particular, has some wonderful prisoner reentry things they're doing that we could all borrow from, that I've heard a lot about. Not to say you're not doing well, but they are a leader in the state. They really do well. So with this one, sharing, pooling administrative systems, processes, sharing advice with each other. How well do we do on this one? Anyone want to advocate for a 1, 2, or 3? Other than Michael, I'm going to let you go last. Anyone else want to kick it off? And again, rehab by nature, you are regional. And just same with EDD. Some of you are just regional by nature of your organization. So Michael, you get to go first.
Again, I think that we're a 3. Let me tell you, when we are not a 3, I will certainly tell you that we're not a 3. But in this case, and in the previous case, I believe we're a 3.
Okay, and I gotta say, I think the regional coalition of the 8 is the state leader. I mean, I've talked to other people around the state, that's what they think.
And I've spoken to individuals in Los Angeles, and they're shocked to find out how well we cooperate with each other and work well with each other. So that's not something that happens normally without that.
Yeah, and I've other people from other states when it comes to the construction industry, and part of it comes out of the BTCs of Fresno County in particular that helped organize it. You do some of the best work in credentialing for construction of any place in the country. So Michael, you advocate for a 3. Do I have a case for a 1? A 2? So I'm going to do a score. And again, the fact that you differ in terms of how you score, there's nothing wrong with that. So again, how many would give this a 3? How many a 2? How many a 1? Okay, this is a not...
Unanimous.
It's unanimous, but not everybody voted, which means we have room for improvement. So this one, let the record show it's a 3. Okay, it's in honor of Michael. Okay.
In fact, it's in honor of all of us. Because all of us make this happen.
Yeah, and this one, this is a little tricky. And this is kind of a brand new thing. Do we have a way, other than guessing at a 1, 2, or 3, do we have a regional way to evaluate our progress? But I would say this session is a start. It's subjective. But do we have a way to evaluate how we're doing on our plan as a region? And just to give you some examples, have we measured an increase in credentials as opposed to say we're doing more? Do we have a numerical goal of putting people to work in occupations? Do we have performance measures for sectors? And then this last one is kind of insider baseball for the boards. Are we working together to negotiate performance across the region? Mike, I'll let you kick it off. What do you think we're doing with this one?
Well, the reason why I can answer this is because because that was part of the negotiation relative to not only, Ann Mertz and her analysts for employers training resource, but then we worked together with the region to determine what our performance goals would be for the 2019 through 20 and going further down the road. So, and when that communication occurred by teleconference, everyone gave their thoughts. There were some that were lower, there were some that were higher, and we all had thorough discussions and came up with a resolution. There was no one that was, upset. I mean, we all went along and was able to come with a resolution.
By the way, this is a state requirement, this last one, that applies to the workforce areas. And we don't get a choice in terms of, it's kind of a rhetorical question in the plan.
But it doesn't count.
Yeah.
That's what's ridiculous, but anyhow.
Okay. So we did have a negotiation across all 8 boards for performance. How about, and again, in this first version of the plan, we had to set a goal. By the way, the goal went from 2016 to 2026, and it asked us to estimate the number of additional credentials that people would get in new activities. Do we have any way to measure that? We don't.
And I know.
Yeah, I don't, by the way, I don't know of anyone in the whole state who does. But that was one of the goals in the plan, was to have a way to measure an increased number of credentials. And I know you probably do at the ROP, you measure how many credentials you get. But we don't necessarily gather that as a system. I don't know whether the colleges are doing that or not, measuring credentials. Probably are, but I don't know if they differentiate new from ones that already existed before 16. Okay. Any other thought? What about employers? Do we have a measure for, if any of you talked about it internally, as to how well employers are, how well we're outreaching to employers, or how good a job we're doing meeting their needs? Are there any performances that are tied to businesses? Okay.
I know that, Shelby, I know that we put out surveys. I'm not the one that sends them out, but I am very aware we do this. Danette sends them out.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we do employer surveys, maybe even several times a year. Math surveys that go out, and then we get that information back, and then it's sorted, and we're told how we're doing. We also do client surveys, so there's a mad rush to get the people that are within the building, sit down and talk to them, and survey them. So surveys on both sides.
Are they customer satisfaction surveys where you ask them how well did we do? Do you have suggestions?
Did your needs, were your needs met? What services did you come in to get? Or, that type of thing, yeah. And employers did you hire? Would you benefit from additional training, additional training, stuff like that? Yeah, but they're extensive. I think she even did one, didn't she try to do one on like SurveyMonkey or something?
In fact, the partners just met last month with our one-stop operator, and we're actually going to be revamping some of the questions and doing it through SurveyMonkey, because we had done SurveyMonkey in years past and then stopped doing it, and then we're going to start looking at it again. So
SurveyMonkey this year on the ones I did.
I think other people have to catch up to the SurveyMonkey.
yeah, so now, and the survey is done through the AGCC, so the
Okay.
We just did a yearly one, customer satisfaction survey, employer satisfaction survey, and we had about 600 responses on the customer satisfaction survey. We were close to 100 on the employer satisfaction surveys, but yeah, we did those all on SurveyMonkey. But that was just ETR, that wasn't the whole HACC.
Are any of these surveys regional? Do we share how we do this with other counties, or so we're doing this on our own here, but it is across partners here?
yes, absolutely.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this, how we measure or capture performance?
I'm not trying to take over this discussion. I do think that we can do a better job with regards to reaching out to employers. I think that we need, a lot of times, and this is my personal thought, a lot of times we will contact our employers and say, hey, do you have a job need? Do you have a job need? I think that we need to get them involved in not just reaching out to them for a job lead. I think that we should be having seminars for them, talking about, what new changes in the laws that have taken place as 2019 has come along. What type of insurance does businesses require? In other words, we need to be a full service versus just calling about what type of jobs that you need. So that way the businesses will think of us immediately versus thinking of a temporary job agency or whatever to fill their needs. That's my thought.
Any other thoughts on, I guess the coverall for this is evidence-based. A better way to gather or use data to do a better job of serving businesses or our people. Are there ways we could do that better or ways we're already doing that? That's kind of the new mantra, is evidence-based decision-making.
Well, I do know that in Cal Jobs, we all use the customer relationship module for any time we do outreach to a new employer, whether they give us a job or not, or at least dropping off the information about our services on the job training, those type of things. So it's required by all of our job developers that anytime they do outreach, they put it in the customer relationship module. All that all that data is used when the state does reports that goes to the federal government. So it does show how much employer engagement we have. And then of course, on the job training, we write a lot of on the job training contracts. We did almost 200 last year. So a lot of money going into that, but when employers are good at that, they keep coming back to us for those, and then they're sharing that with their business partners and other people in their industry that can happen for them, then that word of mouth gets around too, which I think is a real plus. And then as Michael said, we did have a training just for our employers this year. In fact, it was here in the Beale Library, taught by a really dynamic speaker, and they all loved it. It was great, so we're going to try to plan more of those this next year.
Other thoughts on this one?
I think that whenever people are in...
Here, if you could, who you are and...
My name is Erlene Estrada.
Can you spell your last name?
Estrada, E-S-T-R-A-D-A. I think that when people are in the welfare program thing where they have so many months to get everything done, like I was in all GED regular classes and I went to all GED classes, I had to quit. Once I got into all GED classes, I think that someone should be monitoring people, making sure that if they're progressing, that let them finish it. But they made me stop, and then I didn't get to finish it. So had they checked my records and seen that I was doing better and progressing, and let me finish, that I wouldn't have to go back now and start all over again. I think that would help a lot.
Did you have a chance, other than coming to this meeting, to say, I didn't like that and have your input registered?
No, never did.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, I think there should be somebody watching to see if they're actually progressing or not. If they're not progressing, then yeah, I can go back to work. Like my time period ran out, so I didn't get to finish. But I was progressing. I was in all regular classes, and then moved into GED classes, and then right at the end I had to quit. So all that work I did was for nothing. It's a waste of money. I think that there should be somebody, monitoring that kind of stuff.
So, thanks for coming and thanks for speaking up. How did you find out about this? Because it's great to have you here.
Thing that says lawyer services or lawyer help. I was trying to get some help with the lawyer.
Oh,
or
okay.
like victims and stuff.
I'm not. I'm a lawyer, but I don't help people.
Wrong kind of lawyers. I didn't know. Kind of giving.
I got to say, a lot of my brethren don't either. No. Thank you for speaking up and thanks for coming.
Thank you.
What we're doing, you stick around. You're welcome to stay. But so in terms, and I think that's an important comment. That we make employers and our agencies, but do we give our customers a chance to speak and give us ideas? So what would you give this one? And by the way, we do it locally, regional. I guess I would kick this up to the group that meets monthly. But what kind of score would you give us on this? Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
I really like having people come from the customer group. I wish we had more of this. By the way, the prisoner reentry, we did have people come who'd been in jail a long time, and some of them, we had a guy in the San Joaquin, wonderful insight and input.
You don't know how good the program is just by talking with the customer.
Yeah, what would you give us on this?
Can you repeat that for the record?
I said, you only know how good your program is working if you engage the customers. You
Yeah.
gotta talk to those customers and see how they benefit from the services or the lack of benefits of the services.
Right, right.
Thank you, Linda.
And we do a lot of customer surveys, and you know, this is more as a system or the one-stop system. I don't know if we have. And by the way, this thing today is an evaluation, and we're doing a number of these across the regions. But again, thoughts, what score would you give us on this? Anyone other than Michael have an opinion?
In fact, I was not going to say that.
Anyone else want to say? So I want to get an advocate. Yeah, go ahead.
I would say a 2.5 based on what the customer just said right now, because there is an issue if the customer is not being monitored, or if the service is not being provided, or maybe they are being provided but no follow through. So I'll say a 2.5. Those things we can improve on for sure. We do a great job with our partnerships, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, so 2.5. Other thoughts? How many would give this? I'm going to do this. How many would give us a 2? How many a 3? How many a 1? Consensus is a 2. I'm 2.5. I'll give us a 2.05 averaged out. Okay. But, you know, I think the lady is right. I don't know that any of us anywhere do a good enough job of reaching out to some of our hardest to serve people and asking for input and getting back to them. I think we probably do a pretty good job with businesses. Okay. We're done. Do you have any wrap-up questions or comments? Some of you have been really quiet. Other questions, comments, thoughts? By the way, I've done a few of these self-assessment ones. Normally, and I think it's the timing of this, we get more people coming, more discussion. It takes longer. And but this has been, for me, I've learned a lot. It's been valuable. And because this is a smaller one, you've had more, your scores matter more. Did you have a clue what we were doing today? Was this really a surprise for you when I asked you to actually score us? Okay, there's going to be some more of these around the region if you want to weigh in or tell other people about it. But I think this is the trend in the future. If we're getting state money to do anything, and all of us are, we probably wouldn't be here. There's going to be more emphasis on let's grade it. And this is your chance, not some bureaucrat's chance to say how good a job we do. Any other thoughts? You were really surprised at this, right? From you're scoring the whole system, coming from a food bank perspective. Okay. Thanks for coming.
Well, first of all, I just want to say Captain does a lot more than food bank.
Oh, I know.
But
We just happened to talk about that before the session started.
But I want to thank you, John. Fortunately for me, we only have one more left, and I can't wait for it to finish. That's off the record, even though it's on the record. But I want to thank you very much for being the facilitator. It's really, you know, as I'm preparing the local plan and I've had assistance from the different agencies, it's really difficult to be preparing the regional plan because now you're not just dealing with local, you're dealing with 8 different boards. And so John and David have an enormous task, and they did this 2 years ago and did an amazing job for the region. and I'm sure it'll be the same again. And thank you so very much for traveling down to Bakersfield to be part of us.
And we'll try to screw it up this time, just to surprise all of you. No, we won't. But just as a thought again, if you think of anything as you're driving home, it isn't too late to weigh in. We wrap up our sessions first week of December, so I'm going to give you my email. Michael, did we have an over? Oh, there it is, of course, the last page. My email and Michael's. And Michael is the point person for the local plan, as well as putting these regional things together. So if you think of anything you forgot today, you brainstorm a great idea, someone who didn't get to come who'd like to know the dates of other sessions, email us comments. I promise you we'll consider it just as if you had raised it here. If we get it, and I'm going to say end date December 6th, arbitrarily. Because right when these sessions are over, we got to go to work writing, and it's not going to be an easy job. We've got to take the notes from all these sessions, go back through them, and write. And probably reading and compiling the notes is harder than the writing. By the way, we get 10 pages plus attachments to answer questions, which took up 24 pages in the state instructions. So making it compacted, it's harder to write it short than write it long. But thanks so much for coming.
And if you all could attend the next forum, which is again on December 4th at 1:30, please make every effort. It's the last one, and it deals with reentry folks, and that's really the ones that need our input, and I would appreciate it if you...
80% of the plan is this, I wouldn't say it's brand new because it builds upon decades of work, but a new reentry initiative that will bring more money into the region, working as a community to figure out what we're doing best and where there are gaps. And after that, sometime this spring, we'll be doing a regional application and telling them how we want to use that money. So if you have specific ideas or strategies, the date is, what was it, December 5th?
No, December 4th.
December 4th.
Which is a Tuesday at 1:30.
And I'll be here for that one as well.
We'll have more water for you. And there's 2 waters left.
Right. By the way, they've been really well attended, more than any, and it's probably 80% of the plan. Okay, thanks a lot.